All right, Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA. They are all now members of the Big Ten walking on air. They're going to be walking on air a lot across the country. A lot of travel, my friends. A lot of travel. I was thinking about this as we enter the Big Ten. Adam Rittenberg, ESPN, had an article on up today about USC and their off-season program that they underwent. And did you see how much weight they have collectively gained as a team?
Yes.
1,450 pounds.
Yeah.
If you have, you have 105 guys on the roster, that's 14 pounds per guy.
Which is not
almost
insignificant. And I showed you off air Wednesday, Zach Branch, what he did in the past 6 months. And it's like, oh, sweet Jesus.
And that's what kind of sparked like this whole thing, because USC is in desperate need, and not just Zach Branch, who is on the outside, but specifically in the trenches.
Yeah.
They need more size up front.
Yeah, because it's Bear Alexander, and then you're like, oh boy.
And they were talking about a right tackle that is now moving to center, and he went from 295, and they put 15 pounds on him this offseason. And look, when you were in college, I think, and you were an athlete, and now you have meals year round, it's a lot easier to pack weight on these dudes, right? Like, it is not out of the question to see a 2-year transformation of a guy go do the Jeffrey Bossa, right? Gain 40 pounds and go from playing safety to playing linebacker. That is, when you have that frame, when you have that body, it's easy to pack the weight on now, more so than ever before. But that, to me, is the number one thing USC needs to do, because of the fact that they were getting bullied in the Pac-12 up front. You go to the Big Ten, you have the schedule that they have in the Big Ten,
you will get mauled. And this was a thing that the Pete Carroll era, yes, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, Mike Williams, skill players galore. Go back and look at the offensive defensive lines for those teams, and you will find them littered with NFL players.
And that size, it does, when you get leaned on, when you have a schedule that includes LSU, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Penn State, Rutgers this year, going to be a tough out, especially when you have Washington right after it, Nebraska, UCLA, Notre Dame.
I don't think you're going to find a schedule in the country that has better trench play than that.
It's very big. They're going to have they miss Ohio State, but the one question about Ohio State is offensive line depth.
And Notre Dame, Notre Dame might end up with the best defensive line in college football this year.
Yeah, Michigan is also on that.
Yeah.
And they have Michigan week 3.
So
size up front is 100%. USC, they need it desperately, and they need depth, because going through the gauntlet that they have and what every team will go through, you're going to have tough stretches throughout the Big Ten. And for success this year, I look at UCLA. It's organizational structure, because this is not a shot at Deshaun Foster because of a Big Ten Media Day snafu, because I loved what he did. He wore a T-shirt that said "We're in LA" the other day.
I mean, leaning into that was just fantastic.
That's the way that you bounce back from something like that. I don't mean from Deshaun Foster. It's top to bottom in that athletic department. It is your stability at the athletic director. It is organizationally getting your funds right, because they are not in a good place financially.
God, no.
It is also the trickle down that you get from leadership at the top, and how that kind of stabilizes everything around you, because the roster has got to improve dramatically, and that will take several years. If it's this year 1 in the Big Ten, organizational structure at UCLA has got to be buttoned up, and it has got to happen in short order. In that, you're not looking at success in year 1. For Washington, I looked at this and I said, you're coming off of replacing 11 starters, a head coach, 11 starters on offense. Was it 20 of 21 total? I think Carson Bruner's the only guy that you're bringing back this year. To me, success for Washington, you have a transfer in Will Rogers, who came from Mississippi State, and he thrived in 2022 with Mike Leach as his head coach. Last year, they took a massive step backwards
and you
as
got
a whole team.
Pocket bowling ball running back.
But quarterback play for me at Washington is going to be their biggest success or failure, because Will Rogers can get the ball out
Mhm.
and he can distribute the ball. But he is not athletic.
Mm.
And Michael Penix Jr., for as banged up as he was, his offensive line protected the hell out of
The
him.
best offensive line in the country last
But
year.
he was also able to, he wasn't a runner, but he would slide, move,
Keep plays alive.
and he had the ability to, the Tom Brady effect,
Yes.
right?
He also had Roma Dunze, Jalen McMillan, and Jalen Polk.
Yeah, pretty damn good.
Super helpful. Somebody's coming free.
And he had a howitzer for an arm.
Yes.
And he would put the ball in spots where you were like, good Lord, that's the only place this guy could get it.
Mhm.
Will Rogers' biggest issue at Mississippi State is accuracy.
Mhm.
It was accuracy and his inability to move. He's a statue back there, and he can be inaccurate. And if you look at his heat map of where he has success throwing the football, it's not downfield.
No.
Everything was underneath. The quarterback play is going to be paramount at Washington, and I think like you get every school goes through this when you have a player of the caliber of Michael Penix Jr. You get a little bit spoiled with, oh boy,
The next guy up isn't nearly as good.
No. For Washington, it's quarterback play is kind of where it starts and ends for me, for them, because they're going to have their growing pains in a lot of different areas. They do have a great running back that they came in, Arizona transfer, who's coming in and can run the damn rock. But quarterback play is going to be a separator for them if they are going to sneak up on some teams. And look, I think Washington is not going to be nearly as bad as a lot of folks think they are. From the beginning of the year to the end of the year, they will look like a different team because Jedd Fisch has assembled a staff that is where they thrive, is player development, and they have got some wickedly smart guys, X's and O's wise, on that staff. For Oregon, it's not like the players on the field, you know it. It is getting used to physicality every single damn week. There is no like, oh, exhale.
There's no finesse team in the Big Ten.
And getting used to that is a different animal. And you have to go 13 weeks all the way through. You have 12 regular season games. You have your bye week in there. You have got to be ready every single week in the Big Ten for a physical fight. And I think it doesn't matter if it is, Ohio State, Michigan, or if it's Illinois. Brett Bielema, his team is going to be physical.
Yeah.
We know that about Brett Bielema.
Illinois of all teams. So
yeah, right. But they're good. And you have to be ready for that. Yeah. It's not like in the Pac-12 your off week was, we may get snuck up with a team finessing us to death, right? Right. You would
get on the edge and get a little loose.
The only time you worried about that was when you were playing Stanford when David Shaw was the coach.
Yeah. But I mean,
or Utah.
Stanford,
but they were really good.
We're going to pound you in the face, and you knew that week after you played Stanford, the week after you played Utah, that lingering effect.
Yep.
Well, that's the Big Ten.
Every single week.
The change is you're not going to get guys that are going to get on the edge and murder you all over the Big Ten. No,
not all over it, but you'll get it.
You'll get it.
Yeah.
Ohio State will get you. Michigan has the opportunity
for sure.
But there is going to be yes, you have to deal with the physicality, but also you're not going to get stretched sideline to sideline, 53 1/3, in a sense of they want to play in the phone booth.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
that is a change.
Yeah, it's a huge stylistic change. You don't have an Arizona or an Arizona State getting weird on you, Pac-12 after dark, where Bo Scatabo is going to go out here and murder you
and play quarterback.
Yeah, that's you're not going to run into one of those situations, but you are going to get the crap kicked out of you physically.
That's going to be the biggest adjustment, and that's life in the Big Ten as we turn this chapter, and they're officially members of the Big Ten. The Duck did his tour of the Big Ten offices today.
But he's been all over the place. He's been caught in Iowa, Nebraska Wisconsin.
Media Day. He's making the rounds. You see, he went through. They have all the helmets, little mini helmets lined up.
Mm-hmm.
He went and put Kleenex over all of the
I
other
didn't
helmets.
See those. Perfect.
They're doing a good job of making their presence felt.
Look, man, their marketing is top notch.
Yep, they've done a really good job in that regard.